Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unraveling a huge financial mystery. Why do your retirement raises never actually seem to cover your rising costs? I'm super excited to guide you through this latest data because honestly, understanding the math behind your benefits is hands down the best way to protect your financial future. Let's get right into it. So, have you ever opened up your annual benefits statement, seen a nice little percentage increase, but still felt like your retirement income is basically shrinking right before your eyes? Well, you're definitely not imagining things. Today, we are going to break down exactly what is happening to your money using the absolute latest data from the Social Security Administration and top researchers. Which brings us to our first core issue, the purchasing power problem. We have to start by diagnosing the fundamental economic problem that's constantly threatening your wallet, the silent thief we all know is inflation. And of course, we need to look at the system that's designed to fight it. By definition, a cost of living adjustment, or COLA, is supposed to be the financial hero of our story. It's meant to keep your ability to buy groceries, pick up your medicine, and pay your utility bills identical, no matter how long you live. The whole goal of a COLA isn't to make you richer, actually. It's simply to ensure your purchasing power stays perfectly flat against the rising tide of economic inflation. To put this into perspective, according to the National Institute on Retirement Security, if a new retiree starts with a $2,000 monthly benefit at age 62, and we see just a modest 3% annual inflation rate without a COLA, their purchasing power drops a staggering 22% by age 70. It falls to roughly $1,500 in real usable value. By age 85, that original $2,000 is worth less than half its original value. It's wild. This right here perfectly illustrates why a COLA is an absolute necessity, not just a luxury. Now, the really crucial point for us right now is the newly announced 2026 Social Security Cost of Living Adjustment. It is officially set at 2.8%. This number is based on inflation data that tracks urban wage earners and clerical workers from the third quarter of 2024 right through the third quarter of 2025. So let's actually look at the math here. According to the Social Security Administration's fact sheet, across the board, average retired workers are going to see their monthly benefits bump up from $2,015 to $2,071 after this 2.8% adjustment takes effect in January 2026. We can also see that the maximum taxable earnings limit, which is the amount of your income that's subject to Social Security taxes, is rising to $184,500. So on paper anyway, the system is definitely adjusting upward. But that leads us directly into Section 2, the shrinking benefit. You might be looking at that average $56 monthly raise and feeling pretty good, but your COLA hero is actually being secretly undermined by three distinct factors. First up, the official inflation index they use, the CPI-W, tracks urban wage earners, not seniors, so it fundamentally underweighs the skyrocketing medical costs that older Americans actually deal with every day. Second, Medicare premiums are deducted automatically from your check before you ever even see the money. And third, the thresholds for taxing Social Security benefits, which are $25,000 for an individual and $32,000 for a couple, have literally never been adjusted for inflation since they were created. This means that as your COLA pushes your nominal income up, more and more of your benefit gets dragged into being taxed. Notice just how aggressive that second factor, Medicare, really is here. Researchers at the Center for Retirement Research mapped this out beautifully. The newly announced base Medicare Part B premium for 2026 is jumping to $202.90 per month. That increase alone is going to completely eat up more than a quarter of your entire 2.8% COLA. Think about that. Before you buy a single extra bag of groceries, over 25% of your raise is already gone, swallowed up by healthcare premiums. And to make matters worse, just take a look at this trend line. Because healthcare costs consistently outpace general inflation, Part B premiums are taking up a larger and larger slice of the pie. As a share of the average retiree's benefit, Medicare Part B premiums are projected to hit an all-time high of 9.4% in 2026. That's up from 8.3% just a few years ago. So while your gross benefit goes up, your net usable cash gets increasingly squeezed. This local, micro-level squeeze brings us to our third section, the solvency crisis. That micro-level pinch on your wallet introduces a massive macro-level reality. The stark truth is that the Social Security Retirement Trust Fund is rapidly approaching insolvency. Mathematically speaking, it is just 7 years away from total exhaustion. If legislative action isn't taken to bridge the gap between the money coming in and the money going out, retirees could face a devastating automatic 24% across-the-board benefit cut by late 2032. So we have to shift our focus from your personal bank account to federal policy. The clock is ticking loudly in Washington right now. Lawmakers absolutely must find mathematical solutions to this massive systemic pressure. And impartially speaking, they really only have three levers they can pull to fix it: raise taxes, cut initial benefits, or slow the overall growth of benefits over time. And that brings us to Section 4, capping the COLA. One proposed mathematical solution to this crisis comes from the Nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. They ran the numbers on a pretty fascinating proposal. What if we capped COLAs for higher earners? The idea is, instead of a flat percentage increase for everyone, anyone earning above a certain threshold would only receive the exact dollar amount given to someone at that threshold. For example, capping COLAs at the 75th percentile of benefits would generate immediate savings of $115 billion over a decade. That single change would close roughly 1/10 of the program's entire 75-year solvency gap, protecting the system's finances by slowing benefit growth for the top quarter of earners. But we really need to look at what happens to the actual worker when these policies change. Academic research from Cornell and Stanford universities studied public sector pensions to find exactly that out. Their models show that if a worker with a 30-year career sees their expected 3% COLA cut down to zero, that employee's lifetime retirement wealth drops by a massive 35%. It's just a fact. When the rules of the game change, people are forced to alter their life plans. Consequently, the researchers found that this massive loss of expected wealth results in an expected 4.5-month delay in an individual's retirement. Workers intuitively understand they're losing purchasing power, right? So their only real defense mechanism is to stay in the workforce longer, to build up a larger baseline benefit before they tap into the system. This leaves us with a final, pretty provocative question to consider on our journey today. As systemic pressures force policymakers to eventually alter the math of Social Security, whether that's through higher taxes or capped benefits like the COLA, are you prepared to adjust your own retirement timeline? Understanding how inflation, Medicare, and trust fund solvency all interact is really the very first step in taking control of your financial destiny. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember to keep asking the right questions about your money.